everyone. Trish Charleston here, also known as the Cowboy's wife. I'm no expert on anything and I don't claim to be, but I have been alive for 56 years, so I have some funny stories. Come saddle up with me and take a ride, and maybe I can make you laugh or smile or cry or give you something to just think about that day. Let's do this. Hey, good morning.
Hey there, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing okay for an old guy. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I
Well,
like your Oaks hat.
yeah, I had to rep, I had to represent, and you're wearing your hat that you always wear.
How to do it. You gotta make good on it that.
Well, I guess I should introduce you first in case some of these people that listen to me don't know who you are, which if they do, we can't not be friends anymore. But if they don't. But anyway, Bob has written all kinds of books. He's written Love Does, Everybody Always, Undistracted, Dream Big, Live in Grace, Walk in Love, and your newest is Catching Whimsy. You don't I've told people about that new book coming out, and I've had so many people ask me, what does whimsy mean? And it's like,
Ah,
if you don't know what whimsy means, much like if you don't know who Bob Goff is, we can't be friends.
yeah, we think like, hey, tell me what cookies in the oven smells like. You'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. You've either experienced it or you haven't. And if
Yeah.
you've experienced it, it draws you right back there. You go, I know what that feels like. It feels like invited, it feels welcoming, it feels all those things. And whimsy is this thing that is some things we've experienced it, but sometimes we lose it
Right.
with all of the activities and setbacks and other things that we lose that childlike faith. If faith guides your steps, then you'd say, what does it look like to be childlike? Not childish, because I know a lot of guys who are that. Childlike. Uh, and the idea of catching whimsy when you were a little kid and you caught a bubble on the
Yeah.
wall,
Yeah.
intentional part to it. But then there's also this playful, and you can be really serious. I'm a trial lawyer. You can be really serious and still be really playful, and I'm all of those things too.
Yes, you are. And Maria's husband, you're an attorney, you're a my coach and have the Oaks and Love Does. You just do all the things. What's your favorite job of all the things you do besides being Sweet Maria's husband?
Yeah, being your friend.
Oh,
I
gosh,
get
that was
No, I
sweet.
kind of get to during these times, we're still raising our kids, although they're in their 30s and they're raising their kids.
Yeah.
But like that idea that you never end that process, but it changes and it morphs over time. What
Yeah.
happens for a lot of us, and then to your point about whimsy, is that what we morph away from is that playfulness because we get so serious about the events of the day and the news headings, and there's some serious stuff going down. Yet we get distracted from the more important things. And I want to just be a tap on the shoulder to people to say, hey, remember what it was like to love people before loving people got really complicated.
Yeah.
For what it felt like to be accepted somewhere just because you walked in the room and people were just happy you were there. And it wasn't because of your title or your following or your influence. They were just happy because you were you and you were there.
Yeah.
To get back to some of that, and it can feel like confetti and glitter and unicorns on the surface, but beneath that is a mile of strategy. Like why you're doing what you're doing, and I want to bring people back to that place where things weren't as complicated. Kind of do a reset. If your breaker, the GFI in the bathroom goes off because you got the water a little too close to the plug, everything gets tripped. And I think what gets tripped and turns off is this childlike curiosity and wonder, not just in silly, but strategic. You can do big, important things that are lasting and meaningful. But sometimes it takes in this reverse economy. You just need to flip it and say, hey, what's the simplest version of that today? What if I just go
Yeah.
out, get a magnifying glass, and go look closely at something? And people will think you've lost your mind. But what you've done is you've actually lost your way and you're trying to find your way back.
You talked about you were young and you felt unloved, and you've been real open about this in your books, and also at the Oaks, which that place is magical, by the way. That was life changing, and we'll talk
Oh,
about that in a little bit. But um you talked about your grandparents and how they made your, they didn't live in a castle, but you thought that they did. And so do
Yes.
you think that's where your
I
whimsy
think that,
started?
I think that's it. The people that if we were bored, my grandparents, they're living on Social Security and they didn't have much by the way of work when they were out there working. It wasn't much of a job. But yet they seemed like the richest people in the world.
Yeah.
I would go over to their house because I had a room in their house, and we'd go to the hardware store. It was called Orchard Supply, and we would get a battery and then some wire and a bell, and then we would hook the battery to the bell and flip the lever, and the bell would go off. And I just told you 8 hours of my day. Like
Yeah.
that was just yes. But we made a solar oven, and I remember we painted it black, and then we put some like saran wrap across the front. And we put a hot dog in a bun inside, and I don't know if maybe it warmed up 5 degrees, but I felt like we had just created, we had just discovered the sun and the earth and the sky. Um, but that kind of winsome, they weren't in a big hurry to do things. They weren't checking iPhones because there's no such thing at the time. They were just fully present. My grandfather used to make, he had a little cement mixer and he'd make these little round stepping stones. He'd like 2 scoops of sand, 1 scoop of cement, around you go, and then he would pour it into the form, small, medium, and large. And he had a small backyard. I don't know, maybe 50 by 50. Like it was this
Yeah.
little backyard. And he had pathways going everywhere because
Oh.
that's all he did. He just made stepping stones. And and I was thoroughly entertained, and not until I was an adult thinking this guy made thousands of stepping stones, but they felt like these paths, and we would go on this adventure to the pond. And it was just right there. But in the
Aw.
pond wasn't a lake, it was like 3 feet wide and 5 feet long. Yeah, we had two dead goldfish in it. And so, but there was something really beautiful and winsome. And then when the pollywogs would come out, we would
Yeah.
them up at the reservoir and watch them grow legs and all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I think I want to get back to that, and we can deal with the serious issues of the day, and take on those issues. And I think we can take them on with more resolve and resilience because we remember this childlike faith. So that is, I'm trying to just, some people talk about deconstructing this and that, and it sounds so like intellectually. There's nothing I irritates me more than hearing a 15-year-old saying, "I'm trying to deconstruct my faith." I'm like, buddy, you don't even have a driver's license yet. I mean, you know some stuff, but let's not elevate it to deconstruction. You're just trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah. So you're so fearless. And when I first read Love Does, that was how I got to know who you were. And I even called your phone number because I was in Canada and my husband wanted to take a seaplane and I was freaked out, and I knew that you did it all the
Yes.
time. And I couldn't get a hold of you that day because Kim reminded me sometimes you do have to use the bathroom. But most of the time you always answer your phone, which is
Oh,
really
yeah.
cool.
I think I've gotten 10 calls just this morning
Oh
from
my gosh,
people.
and that's
Yeah.
cool. But I did it, and I wasn't, it was one of the best experiences of my life because I did it. And
Yeah,
the Bible talks about all the time, that we're not supposed to be afraid. We're not supposed to be afraid. But that's really
totally.
easier said than done because we live in this world and we watch the news and we see all these horrible things and it's terrifying. But when did you just start? I mean, all of your stories from way back when. Oh, I had my whole Bible study freaked out by just for you when you hitchhiked
Yeah.
you and lived with that man in the woods for a month or longer. How,
Yeah. So
I
fun.
mean, how
I
old were
total
you? And when you started deciding that you were scared of nothing?
Yeah, and it isn't like this bravado, like, "I ain't afraid of you," but it's just curiosity let off the leash. Uh,
Yeah.
and to say, be curious about the person that delivers your paper and the mail carrier, and then be curious, get involved. I've probably done international adoptions for 3 or 4 of the gals that are at the ticket line at Alaska Airlines. Because I
Oh,
used to fly to Seattle every morning to work, and then I'd fly home. Last seat, right next to the bathroom on Alaska Airlines. But I didn't care. I could just get some writing done.
yeah.
So and I can eat my body weight in peanuts. And so, but take a genuine interest in other people, that was like one of the guys that wrote some letters in the Bible named Paul was talking about Timothy, and he said that was the outstanding feature of Timothy. He took an interest in the people around him. You want to live a more whimsical, engaged life, take an interest in the people around you. Reach out if
Yeah.
there's a musician that plays a song that you think was really, I'm thinking of this musician that wrote something about 1,000 years, Christina Thierry or something like that. But I just dropped her a note. I said, I really like your song. And then this started this friendship, like back and forth of like sending notes. And she'd evidently stumbled across a book. And like, I think what we want to do is just be curious. I wrote to Mike Tyson. I haven't heard back from him. I'm covering my ears if I do. Um, don't bite them. Um, but to be curious, and it's not to get a selfie with them, but to engage the people around you. The crazy guy in North Korea, I wrote to him and said, let's meet. So I'm the consul for the Republic of Uganda. I'm like, on behalf of the Republic of Uganda, would you please meet? And I'm still waiting to hear. But I go to my inbox every day wondering if I get a yes, I'm on the next plane. So
Oh,
curious and do the next thing, whatever that is. Be curious about your neighbor who's suffered a big loss and it happened around Christmas time. And so they just stopped celebrating Christmas, understandable,
oh,
because it brought
yeah.
back all those feelings. But then have ornaments and then have all the neighbors sign the ornament and bring over a tree with all the ornaments from their neighbors.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just in those small and large things, bake somebody a pie. If they don't want it, I do. So though that kind of like engagement, and it's not silly, it's purposeful, it's not selfish, it's strategic. And so as we start lifting our eyes to say, I could show up more in the relationships that matter the most to me, because I'm thinking, I wonder what would happen if
Yeah.
last week we got back from Uganda and we were there to buy giraffes.
Oh,
And so we've got a school with almost 1,500 kids living on campus. I mean, it's a
wow.
pretty big school. And then we decided we're starting a university, which is fine and all, but there's nothing winsome about a university. But say we're going to start a giraffe sanctuary next to it. And
Oh,
then
wow. Yeah.
all of a
People want to
sudden,
come.
you're explaining this to the president of Uganda, who
Oh,
then
wow.
turns to the minister of wildlife for the country, cabinet level, make it happen. And then
Oh,
turns to the
wow.
Department of Education, said, make it happen. And we just shortcutted 3 years of red tape.
Oh,
Uh,
that's amazing.
and you know what it was? It wasn't me. It was the giraffes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it really, we just
And they've
want
been there the whole time.
we
Yeah.
just wanted something that didn't bite people and would be hard to lose. I'm like, giraffes, right? I can see
Yeah.
our mascot now, like, stick your neck out. Yeah,
So, who taught you about the Bible? Did you study
nobody.
yourself?
No,
Nobody.
not
You
at
just
all.
did
I
it.
was just
You
like,
didn't have any influence growing up. You just
Bible's the
read it.
Bible, yeah.
You just read it.
Yeah, no, I didn't grow up in a church or like I didn't know anybody who went to church. That wouldn't be my posse. And
Really?
so, oh yeah, I was in high school and there was this ski club called Mogul, so creatively named. And so Mogul would go up to Tahoe and skiing. And it costs, I think it was $38, including ticket and a meal on the way up and a meal on the way back, and your ski lift ticket and the bus ride for $38. Man, that was
Oh, wow.
back in the day.
Yeah,
They were
it
probably
was.
steam powered, like, lift chairs. But I didn't have the $38, but I could go for 18 if I would clean out the bus. So when all these, junior high and high school kids trash the bus, then they would all get off, and then I would clean up the bus. And on the floor, there was this book. It said "good book" on it. I'm thinking I could use a good book. And so I didn't know it was the Bible. And then I'm reading like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I'm like, same story. I'm like, average book at best. And so, but there was something that started. I was kind of curious about that. And then I had a nutty friend named Doug. We used to go out and shoot pellet guns, and we were shooting at cans and all that. And then Doug was no longer beside me. And I look, and he's pointing his muzzle at me. He's behind a tree.
Oh.
and he's
Oh,
pointing. All I see is the muzzle and the scope he has, and he
oh,
shoots me, and it goes
no.
in me, not like paintball, like bruise in me, like this pellet
Oh,
in my gut.
oh.
And so now we're back in his bedroom,
And
and
you're still friends.
we're putting mouthwash and we got some tweezers and we're way
Oh,
in there trying to get it out. And he starts telling me about Jesus. I'm like, you
oh.
shot me. I didn't think you could do that
That
with
wasn't very
explicitly, but
Jesus-like, was
yeah,
it?
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm in. Because if Jesus had room for somebody as screwed up as Doug, he would certainly have room for somebody as screwed up as me. Um, so I think that was my introduction. And then I met a guy named Steve and another guy named Randy, who were older, kind of college guys that had taken an interest in high school guys, like to just bring us along and encourage us and all that. And the crazy part is, so 18, 28, 38, 48, 58. So 46 years later, I meet with Steve every single Friday, never miss. Is that
Oh,
for the
that's
last half a century? And
that's awesome.
he was a guy who took a genuine interest. And so nobody taught me the Bible, but a number of people showed me the Bible.
Yeah, that's
And
how I mean, I had both. My grandma was I mean, she was in the word every single day, but she loved me so hard that you were able to see Jesus. And grandpa was the same way. I mean, they just loved us so hard that you saw Jesus every day. And that's the thing that I love the most about you and the way that you treat people and the way that you love people and just all the things. That's exactly what we're supposed to be trying to do. And the fearless thing, that's the thing. So my new book is called Stay Hooked. And
I'm
so
so glad you're getting that out
I'm
there.
I'm
Your
so
word.
close.
Come
I'm
on.
so close. And but it's really turned into this really weird thing. But the coolest part, which I didn't even plan, which I know was lots of a tribute to you and Kim and also obviously Jesus. But the piece, I have been such a wreck when my daughter rodeos, we've talked about this
Big
repeatedly.
time.
She's gone again right now in Memphis, Tennessee, all by herself, and it just
Aw.
freaks me out, because she's little
Yeah.
bitty. But I have this weird piece about me now. And even coming to the Oaks, I was terrified. I mean, I've gone places by
Really?
myself. Yes, I almost didn't come. I
Oh my
really
gosh, how
no,
come?
I because I was by myself and I've never been that far by myself and I didn't know anybody. And honestly, that was the weirdest 3 days, but the most amazing 3 days I've ever had in my whole life. I mean, ever. And I just, and the crazy part about meeting all the different people and all the person that, besides obviously all of you, but the person that taught me as much was Justin.
Mm,
Being with
yeah.
Justin was like, and then hearing his story, holy moly. And you had no idea while you were there what had happened to him, and I'm not going to bring that up now, but I'm just saying you are able to bring people together and show them love and show them that God is real and that we can do these things together. It makes such a difference when somebody's on your team. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think I would not have finished this book without you guys. I mean, there's no way because I wanted to quit. This has been the hardest thing I have ever done. And I've written 3 books and I
Yeah.
thought it was so easy because you just hit a button and put them out on Amazon. Well, that's kind of cheating. You really need the feedback, and that's the
Yeah.
hard part. And that's just like with anything, like in life, like, well, I cannot get out of my head the story of you talking about your parents and dealing with how they dealt with death and your dog just going in the trash can. That haunts me. And so the fact that you were able to become a functioning human being with that at all, and the fact that you've become all of these things that you've become, uh, that's got to be Jesus. I mean, that's just, and
I
other
think
people. I mean, it's just, and the signs, when you guys held up the signs, something as silly as writing somebody's name on a sign, it meant it was huge. I mean, and you don't understand that you need just that little pat on the back, that little hug, that little, it, like you said, just having one person call you back or write you back, having one person interested in the things that you're interested in. And I had 45 people there that were interested in the things that I was interested in. And it was life changing, to know that you're not by yourself.
Yeah, there's something beautiful about what can happen in community. And
Yeah.
if you're listening and you don't have community, you go like, well, that sounds great if you've got the peeps. But to just say, you know what, I'm just going to get adjacent
Yeah.
communities. And then you'll find that if they're the right kind of communities, they're going to add a chair.
Yeah.
They're not going to have you outside the circle. If it's the right
Right.
kind of community, doesn't make them bad people, makes them insecure people, then they'll keep the circle tight. It'll
Yeah.
just be the people that are huddled together. But what I like is that it's this ever expanding community. It's just like there's always room for another chair, and there's always room for another chair, and nobody's watching. Everybody's in this. So it's not rows where we're learning, it's circles where we're sharing. And there's
Yeah.
something beautiful that happens in doing that. And so at this point in my life, I want to just find and cultivate community wherever we can. And that's the stuff that's really lasting. You start having people make some discoveries, and then you get to bear witness to that. And then it makes you think like, wow, I wonder what would be a courageous step for me. So if you're
Yeah.
listening, find that community. If you can't find the community, cultivate the community. Just say, hey, pie is at 7, my place.
Yeah.
Be there. All I need is an address. So like just get the word out. Don't keep it a secret.
Well, and it's hard to step out there and just do that first step. That's really scary, but man, when you do it, it's life changing. And then, well, another thing though, also stop doing things. Today's Thursday. You always quit something on
Always.
Thursday. What are you quitting today?
There's a person that has been a little bit difficult in my life. That's understating it. And they've just, I don't know them from Adam. And
Oh,
yet
wow.
they have these people that can kind of troll you. And so I've just decided to quit giving that airtime.
Yeah.
And I don't engage that stuff. There's a concept, it's called gray rocking. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but a gray rock with picture a stream that has somewhere in the bottom just a gray rock. You just don't notice it. It's just like there's nothing engaging. I'm not going to engage any of the angst. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to feed any of the emotions that are there. I'm just going to gray rock it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good strategy to just gray rock something. And again, that isn't apathy, it's strategy. Um,
Yeah.
and then the second thing is that there might be some people that you just have lost contact with. And so there's a guy that came to mind that it plays a lot of music. I just haven't connected with in a while. And I was literally thinking about him last night, and he dropped this note this morning to just say, he was thinking randomly, and we haven't spoken in years. But instead of saying, hey, that's great, I'm great, so great to hear from you, why not put another like flag in the sand and say, okay, here's something I'm doing. And I don't know if you want in on this, but this is a thing I'm doing. This is where I'm going to be in December 3rd through 7th. This is another place I'm going to be September. Do any of those interest you? Why don't you come as my guest? Um,
Oh, cool.
Even if we don't connect, to just have put out some things. So doing that greeting, hi, how are you? And then you say fine, and how are you? And then I say fine, which is fine. Like that's how we do it in North America. But what
Mm.
if you were to say, change it up a little bit and say, what's it feel like to be you? And you and I have done that exercise before. And I could say, this is what it feels like to be me. Now tell me what it feels like to be you. And that is a deeper level. And I want to aim for that. So give me an example for you. If I said, what's it feel like to be you right now? What would you say?
Oh, I'm pretty lucky. Sometimes I'm pretty tired, but I feel really blessed. I mean, I'm busy. Obviously, I'm busy with all the horses, all the cows, all the things, and all the riding. Right now, I feel a little bit crippled because I've been sitting at my desk so long, but I did have something really exciting this happen this week. So for me right now, I feel excited because I got the first draft of the cover of my book.
Ooh,
Oh, man.
yes.
When
Oh,
I
that's a big
saw
day.
it, oh, it's a big day, and when
That's
I
a
saw
mile
it was,
marker.
oh, man, it was, and I was kind of really discouraged again, because it's just, I felt like my first one was my baby. And the second one, or this fourth one, I feel like I'm just not, it's just not coming together the way I wanted it to. And when I saw that cover like that, it was so exciting. It got me fired up, to
Yeah.
finish. And so I have just been crippling myself, sitting in the chair, just
Oh,
writing, 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 because it's just, I can see the end, I can see the finish line. I mean, you can
yes.
see that finish line. It just makes a huge difference. And
Yeah. Well, all you guys in Texas are so good at using words to describe and phrases to describe something. So if you were, for instance, talking to somebody, and if you're listening and you have a lot going on, it's all good stuff, but there's just too much of it. Say, it feels like I'm drowning in chocolate. Like
yeah.
that kind of like a description really dials people into what it might feel like. Or if you're living in anticipation, I can smell
Oh,
cookies in
yeah,
the oven.
that's a good description.
So to
But
think
I'm in
through,
Missouri.
well, in the
I'm a
same
Missouri
time,
girl. I
yeah,
mean, I'm a cowgirl, so everybody
yeah,
thinks
yeah.
we're Texans.
But
But
think about that idea. Like we're big on show me around here.
oh yeah, yeah.
So
No, that's perfect.
when it comes to faith, when it comes to everything, show me, don't tell me.
So
I think
you're coming to Leawood, Kansas this weekend. I just
evidently, who knew?
I had no, that's 2 hours from my house.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I know. And my friend sent me this link and said, Bob is coming. He's going to be here. Are you going to come? I'm like, I mean, I feel like a stalker at this point. If I show up, I
No,
think.
we're friends. That's awesome. Yeah, get there a little early. We'll say hey. Um, an example of some good practices that help you stay present, at least for me, is I have a friend, Stephanie, who tells me the night before at 10 p.m., she'll tell me what I'm doing the next day.
Yes, I
So
love
I will
Stephanie.
get something at 10 p.m. tonight saying, don't forget your flight to Kansas tomorrow. I'm assuming tomorrow because I didn't see on what she sent me last night that I'm supposed to get on a plane tonight. To just that idea, be where your feet are, which is
Yeah.
another phrase from the
Yep.
South that's worth kind of keeping in mind. So to find cadences and practices that help you stay very present, that's one for me to just have. And Stephanie, we kind of stacked hands on, I want to be fully present with you right now. And I wouldn't be if I was thinking about the next thing. It wouldn't be huge distractions, but hey, why worry about it? It's not even like then. Uh,
No.
Sweet Maria will give me a ride to the airport,
Yep.
and she'll drop me off. And we never talk about where I am. We talk about how I am. And so
Yeah.
when if I'm going somewhere and I show up with a big backpack, then she'll think that looks like 10 days. If I do a day pack, that looks like overnight. But we never talk about where because it makes us feel far apart then. But if we
Yeah.
talk about how we are, then it makes us feel like we're right together. And when
Yeah.
people ask Maria, where's Bob? She always says he's on his way home. And so
Oh,
to
that's
think that like, yeah,
great.
so I am. As fast as I can get home, I'm headed home.
I'm reading her book right now and I love it. We have had some very similar life stories, she and I loved meeting her at the Oaks and finally getting
Yeah.
to spend some time with her because she's such an amazing person. But I'm alone like she is a lot. The cowboy travels like you do. He's not going to Uganda. Thank you, Jesus. Not
I
yet,
like
anyway.
that you call him the cowboy. That's
Yeah.
always made me smile.
But he's gone again. And my mom does the same thing to me all the time. Well, where's Kevin? Where's Kevin? And I'm just like, Mom, I don't know. I don't know. He's in so many places at so many different times. I have no idea, but I do. I'm just like her. And I think it's sweet that, that's her job. And so when I was talking about this, her job is being there and it's fine, and it's great to be there waiting for you and to keep the home fires burning. And that's all she ever wanted to do was be a wife and a mom. And I love that about her because, in this day and age, we get a lot of heat for that sort of thing, but that's kind of what I do. And it's funny because when I started, Kevin he's not a sensitive kind of guy. I mean, he's very, he's a cowboy. He's hardcore kind of hardcore guy, but I always know that he's coming back to me, and
Yeah.
my daughters are really funny because if I do go anywhere, he's fully freaked out. Emma will call me and she's like, "Mom, when are you coming home?" Because I mean, we don't spend any time together, but he needs me to be right here because
That's cute.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is where I am, where I'm supposed to be. She goes, "You know how dad gets when you're not here. he's emotional. I'm like, your dad is a lot of things, but emotional is not
That is
one
not
of
one
them.
of them.
Yeah. But I think it's cool that, we know that it's okay to be here. But I was telling Emma about you coming to Leewood, and I said, um, about finding your purpose, the thing of the conference is about purpose. And she goes, Mom, are you still struggling with your purpose? Seriously, still struggling? I said, no, it's not about that. I just thought it would be nice to get to see Bob
Yeah.
again. And she said, your purpose is to be my mom. That is your purpose.
I love it. Nailed it in part. And then this whole idea of becoming a new creation. Like that's the promise in the scripture that we be a new creation. And while you're similar to the way you were yesterday, there's some new stuff that's percolating. There's a
So
new
much new, so
next
different.
version of us. So we're always trying to kind of pick our own lock, and the combination's constantly changing. We're trying to figure out, how do I tap in to
Yeah.
the new creation? And then when you try to figure out the cowboy, because he's a new creation, and
Every day.
there'll be some similarities certainly, but he'll still leave his socks out and all that. But but there's some new stuff. And I think that's what marks really great relationships, is we're trying to understand who's the newest, most current version of the person that we're spending time with. And then stay curious about that. Uh,
Yeah.
and have somebody who's pursuing you. If he's as smart a guy as he was getting dibs on you, continue to pursue you. Just say like,
Yeah.
so who are you? And what's it feel like when you got the book cover? Like, what did that feel like? Like,
Oh,
describe
yeah.
it for me. And then if we can access how we actually feel about things, then we'll find use better words instead of saying fine, great, swell. Um, those aren't bad. They're just not descriptive. Those are
Yeah.
placeholders.
Drowning in chocolate is
Yeah, so find
exactly right.
another way to say it. I feel like
Exactly
I've
right.
just gone on a roller coaster. My hands were over my head, and then I realized I didn't have a seatbelt on. Like, and it just like it paints this picture, and as he's going through his day, he'll think of you like that with no seatbelt.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you. It's so good to see you. And I
Yeah,
hope you have a safe
likewise.
trip to Kansas and all the things.
I hope you'll be spontaneous and head there, because
I
I
think,
know
well,
a
I
total
think,
of nobody, and that's rounding up. Like,
okay, well, consider me your plus one.
oh, nice. It's so good to see you. Thanks for having
You
me on
too.
the podcast.
All right. See you later. Bye.